Yeah, I'm just sort of jumping right in here today. My goal is to see how many of these guys I can get finished by the end of the day, and I've already gotten a good start. So let me talk a little bit about some of the things I'm doing here. With the three armored individuals, they have a lot of super fine detail, and yet they also have armor that's going to be primarily a single color, maybe two colors, but I still want to be able to bring out all that detail. So what I've done is something I don't do a lot of, but it made sense in this case, and that is, and if you remember, this is very similar to what I did in the last video, and that's it's a black glaze, and it's, you might think, oh, you're just blackwashing them, but it's really not. It's a glaze, and again, as in the last video, the idea is to really just emphasize the recesses. And in this case, it's because I want to, it's going to be kind of like a black lining technique, except I'm using the glaze to do the black line. And so the three of these, you can really see all of the detail in the armor. Then of course I'll go back in and I'll do highlighting and I'll pull out other colors, and it's obviously just not a one-shot deal here. The other thing I'm doing, particularly on this guy, is on his card, which is what I'm trying to follow for his color scheme. There's a slight difference between like his armor and the cloth portions of his uniform. And what I decided to do to get that kind of effect was to I've been brushing in both Nuln Oil and Agrax Earthshade into the pants and, well, again, the cloth areas. And what I'm doing is a very, very controlled washing process. I use a lot of washes, and I use them in a lot of different ways. And so really just building it up and going back and forth between the Agrax Earthshade and the Nuln Oil, because I want to give a little more richness to the color in these areas than you would get with just using one or the other. Still want it to be black. He's really seems to be kind of a almost like a night fighter. Whereas the woman here is going to have much brighter armor. The end result of this is going to be almost like an anime style, and this guy here is going to be kind of somewhere in between. And again, on him, I've used a mix of the coal black, which I love so much, and it also ties it into the other colors that I'm using across the board with all of these guys. And again, flesh tones similar to what I was doing yesterday. Nothing really new to talk about there. But I'm going to jump back in and go get some more work done, and I will come back at some point. This was probably, I mean, considering I'm trying to work on 5 figures at once, this will end up feeling like a bit of a short video, but we'll see. Alright, so as you can see, I've been focusing on these three in the middle here. This is Jessica, and James Wu, and Colonel Nick Bolter. The work's been pretty straightforward. I mean, it's just primarily doing a lot of layers of color to provide the highlights, and that is, mixing up thin mixes of my colors in lighter and lighter shades and bringing it up from the dark. This one obviously going a little brighter, almost Stormtrooper white, and this guy's staying a little bit more gray. But also doing layering in the shadows as well by using the Nuln Oil and Agrax Earthshade primarily on these two, but also on this guy. His gloves got a little bit of that work, and all of their guns are getting that. And I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again because it's worth pointing out. You can work on doing layers of the Citadel shades, but if you do a heavy wash on top of a heavy wash of the shades, it will re-wet itself. And so if you find yourself working the surface with your brush, you will discover that it's become re-wet and it's taking that initial surface right off of there. So when I do this, I have discovered that as long as you work in thin washes, I just do, brush it right in, let it dry. If I'm going to do a full wash, I just make sure that there's not a lot of it. Really using it more as a series of filters as opposed to a wash. And you can get some really nice layered color effects when you do that. And you can see like the black of her the cloth beneath the armor plates. That's a really, really good example of what you can do with that technique. Let me see, on Nick Bolter, I put some gray, light gray, into his backpack. I thought it was a nice contrast, makes it stand out a little bit. I also did that on his, he has some other pouches and stuff, both on his thigh and across his belt. James Wu here is looking pretty cool. He's going to be really simple. He's actually going to be simpler looking than Jessica, and I think that's because his colors tend to be a little bit more close to one another. There's not as much contrast as there is when you're going near white. This isn't white, by the way. There is no white on this whatsoever. The lightest color on there is a mix of white and light gray, but it's not stark white, and I don't think I'm going to put any white on her at all either, because I just don't want it. I don't want it to end up looking like a stormtrooper. I've also worked on their eyes. I don't know if you can see them here or here. I really kind of like how her eyes turned out as Vasquez. I like how Vasquez's eyes turned out. She's sort of looking up as if she's seeing something coming in from above as she gets ready to aim. Vasquez's neck is a little weird. Nothing I can do about that. It's how she was built. But yeah, overall I like how that turned out. That's another case where I'm sort of layering in some shadows, in their eye sockets. At some point I'll probably do an eye tutorial. I have a method that seems to work for me, but I don't know. I always feel like even though I feel like I know what I'm doing when I do it, it's not necessarily the right way when it comes to eyes. Eyes never feel like, oh yeah, this is a natural thing. This is the way everybody should do eyes. Not so much. Anyway, I'm going to get back to work, and then I will come back and show you where we are. So it's actually been about a week since that last cut. And I honestly don't remember what I said last. In any case, I got into the shop last night and I did some work on Vasquez. So, kind of happy with her muscular belly there. Definitely running to a little bit darker flesh tone on her as Lieutenant Vasquez. Well, it seems like she would be Hispanic. It's still the same flesh tones I've been using, just adding more of the darker tones and less of the lighter tones, and that's really all it is to that. The green in her uniform is Lauren Forest, Citadel layer color. shorts are Mornfang Brown, and have been shading it with Agrax Earth Shade. And the Lauren Forest is getting a shade of Athonian Camo Shade. And then highlights with just a lightened version of Lauren Forest. Her boots I'm still kind of working on. I haven't quite figured out. It looks like they're going to go gray, dark gray. And she's got a sidearm, and that's not done yet. Her hair's not done yet, and you know, there's lots of stuff to do. But I got the first shading pass on her rifle, and again, it's just the light gray and Known Oil. I do a lot with the shades. And then Kendall there hasn't had much done to him at all, so I'm going to need to get to work on him. But these are the last two. And then it's clear coat and done on these, and so I'll be able to wrap up this video pretty soon, I think. So I'm going to get to work, and once I have some progress, I will let you know. And now these guys are done. I'm actually quite happy with them. What was really fun on Kendall here was that I got to do a lot of leather. I haven't done a lot of leather in a while. And like on so many other things on this project, I used a custom mix of for the wash. Mornfang Brown was the base, but I mixed up some burnt umber, a burnt umber wash, Joe Sonia burnt umber, as the wash over the top of that. And again, it really provided a better contrasting wash than the shades do, and I like how that turned out. I also highlighted all of the leather colors with the mixture of Mornfang Brown and I think the Cardic Flesh. Yeah, it was the Cardic Flesh. It was kind of interesting, you know, using flesh tones for leather, but I guess in a way leather is kind of flesh tone. And again, I really like the how she turned out, her skin tones and the skin and the muscle definition all over on her. And the green turned out quite well. Really happy with that. And the gun. In general, I think I'm really kind of sold on this process for doing guns, which is the Known Oil washes over the light gray, and then, you know, sort of really doing some directed shading and, you know, just brushing it right in to some of those lines to give them even more definition. Because again, the shades tend to just spread a little bit too much to give them too much definition. And so now I'm going to just clear coat these guys, all of them, and then I'll be peeling up the tape, which I've done before, and like I said in the past, it does work fine. It helps that there's sort of a waxy surface on the little sticker that's on there. And that also, I've noticed that if there's any bleed through from the paint onto the surface of that just scrapes right up, because again, the waxy surface. Yeah, so I'm going to call this done. I'm going to go take some pictures, and I'll have pictures, photographs of all the figures, or at least some of the figures, these figures, at the end, and so you can take a look and see what they look like. And that's going to be it for now. And remember, thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, click like on the video, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe, because that way you can see all of my videos. And that's it for now, and I will talk to you later.